Hi, I'm Dr. Michael Pugh Williams, founder and senior pastor of the Genesis Church, a place for new beginnings. Here at the Genesis Church, October is the month of commitment. And this is what the Apostle Paul says in Romans, the 12th chapter, beginning at the first verse about commitment. Therefore, I urge you, brothers, in view of God's mercy, to offer your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and pleasing to God. This is your spiritual act of worship. Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. Paul makes it absolutely clear here that commitment, what we offer to God, the totality of who we are, is one of the keys to knowing God's will. We as Christians find ourselves often confused, trying to figure out, what does God really want me to do? The way to understand the will of God, as he describes it, the good, pleasing, and perfect will, is to begin with commitment. Commitment is something that we put our minds, our hearts, and our lives to. That's why he says we should offer ourselves a living sacrifice. To Paul's listeners and to some of us today, that seems strange. It's an oxymoron. All sacrifices are intended to die. But Paul says God wants a sacrifice that keeps on living because it keeps on giving. That he wants us to be a sacrifice of our time, of our talent, and of our treasure. Once we do that, we put ourselves at odds with the pattern that the world wants us to be in. No longer can the world mold us the way it wants to mold us, because we know now then what is the good and acceptable will of God. One translation says this is your reasonable service, but here in the New International Version, it says your spiritual act of worship. What does worship mean? Worship is more than just our gathering together on Sunday for praise, for prayer, for the proclamation of the gospel, and the presentation of our gifts. Worship literally means to honor God. We honor God in the totality of what we bring to him. Our time, our talent, our treasure, our bodies, our minds. That is why Jesus instructed that man to love the Lord with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. A living sacrifice is the key to commitment. And once we commit, we can know what is the will of God. This is Dr. Williams. I love you. Join us at the Genesis Church, a place for new beginnings. We'll do you good.